Welcome to another edition of the Boston Sports Brew. Krejci returns, but the Bruins continue to slide. Can the Bees get it together in time to make the postseason? The Celtics haven't been playing their best, but Isaiah Thomas is back. Are the playoffs still in the C's cards? And David Ortiz has a message for anyone that calls him a cheater. We'll talk about it on this edition of the Boston Sports Brew. Mattias, heartbreaker in Boston on Friday or Thursday night.
I don't know what to say, Traz. Last time we talked, it's been an up and down season for the Bruins, and unfortunately, it's not even up and down right now. They're in a funk, and they're in a funk at the worst time, and they're exactly tied with Ottawa, 85 points each. Ottawa actually has a game in hand, so you have that perspective. But it's been the theme this year, man. And if you were watching that game, I know Rask got hit in front of the net. You could make an argument that there was a penalty, that they could have made a penalty call there or a no goal, which most likely would have made the Bruins win the game. Okay, but it didn't get called. I'm not going to make any excuses. And it's just another game where they lose, like they lost like with a second, as we were discussing off the air, against Colorado early in the year. It's been a tough year for these Bruins. It really has, and that game it just shows you that even I might be wrong, man. I predict them to squeak into that spot, but they might be on the outside looking in when all things settle here.
The big thing I think on that play, besides obviously the goaltender interference, or what appeared to be goaltender interference, is the fact that after the timeout, the Bruins took the timeout, Bergeron was in the faceoff circle, and he won the faceoff pretty much, but the Bruins couldn't control the puck. And that's what led to the shot being made, and obviously the game-tying shot before we went into overtime. And that's just abnormal. Usually the Bruins do a very good job with that, and that is what led to the problems. And that, to me, is a little sickening, just because, once again, you have the best face-off man in the league in Patrice Bergeron sitting there in the circle, taking the face-off, and they couldn't take advantage of that. In the zone, you want that. That's like the perfect situation, the perfect storm. I know you don't want to be obviously in your zone with 40 seconds to go or 47 seconds to go, up by one with a 6-on-5 advantage because they pulled their goalie. But at the same time, Patrice Bergeron in the faceoff circle, you're like, okay, they can get through this. They can get the puck and just knock it out of the zone. And that's not what happened. They couldn't get control of the puck, got cycled around, and then next thing you know, that's past Rask. And then in overtime in that game, They killed the penalty. They killed the penalty with like 2 minutes to go in the OT. And then I don't even remember who it was. Was it Fowler? No, Getzlaf. Getzlaf comes flying down the ice and just tanks one right over Rask's left shoulder to win it. So, but the positives in this game, there are some positives.
How can you make positives?
Because I'm making positives because there are some positives. And
how are there positives? They're on a 6-game losing streak, draws.
Yes, but in hockey, when you lose in overtime, you get a point. So it's not quite as bad because 3 of those are point games where they got points. First off, the positive number one is Tuukka Rask was absolutely atrocious against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Atrocious. The pucks went flying in. I thought that game.
Gee, I won the line. They put him in net every single night, and then you got these people out there that say, fine, he should be playing every night because of his contract. The guy's only human. Svedberg has played 2 times in like the last 10 games, but before that, I mean, there was that one time with Subban, and then the 20 whatever times in a row of Rask. Maybe he's actually getting burnt out, Draws.
Well, but you didn't let me finish my comment. He played atrocious against Tampa. He was great against Anaheim. That one goal he let up at the end, I'd say, was not good. But besides that, he was in regular old Tuukka.
Well,
in the game
fine.
Against Anaheim.
That's fine. Like we said before, Draws, he's played the back-to-back. What did I say last show? Did he win a back-to-back the entire year? I don't think so. They back-to-backed him in Washington, lost in Washington. Back-to-back now at Florida and then in Tampa Bay. He got his butt handed to him by Tampa Bay. All right, so that's my point. They don't give enough rest. Last year they had backup goaltending was not an issue with Antoine Kubodin here, and then we pick up Svedberg because Kubodin gets signed, gets a better deal, and it's been an issue to this year. If you look at underlying issues of the Boston Bruins, having that backup goalie to solidify Rask's playing time and keep him fresh, because most Bruins seasons they're going to go into the playoffs, which means it's going to be a longer year. You got to be fresh for those times. They haven't had that this year. And, yeah, you're right. He was awful against Tampa Bay, lost against Florida. He wasn't good against Ottawa. That game was crazy. We were texting each other back and forth, and that game ended, unfortunately, on the losing losing end. And like
off a skate.
Yeah, off a skate. But it is what it is, man. Last night just sums up this season with the Bruins losing in overtime, and they would have lost anyway if it were going to a shootout anyway. So I don't even mind that. They would have got. They have their point. I'm sorry. I'm going
3-9 in the shootout.
I am not even on that. I'm not even going up and down that roller coaster anymore, man. I think I'm stagnantly going down, and it sounds pessimistic. Well, I don't care. If you somehow have a hope that this team's going to make noise, even if they get into the playoffs, you're on crack.
Well, I think that if they make the playoffs, they definitely will make noise. Now the question is if they make the playoffs.
How can you say this?
Because Krejci's come back. Krejci looked pretty solid in his first game back after missing, 17 games with the knee injury.
This isn't the NBA. There's other guys in the ice. You can't just have one guy take over a game.
I understand you can't have just one guy take over the game, but he looked good, and that line was, in fact, out of all the lines in the game on Thursday night against Anaheim, all the lines, the one line that seemed to be able to keep the puck in the zone was the Krejci, Marchand, Bergeron line, where, of course, they put Krejci in at wing instead of center because he's coming back from injury. And they played well. They were solid. So, or above average. I know they did let up the goals, too. They were out there when Getzlaf and Perry scored the goals. But once again, Perry's goal came off a goaltender interference. And the other one, I don't really know if I would – it was a breakaway. Yeah, you could argue that they should have done something more to allow that not to happen. The breakaway itself, but Rask probably should have made that save. I think having Krejci back is going to be a big help. They have had trouble scoring. They scored against Ottawa when everyone was scoring. And then they scored, against Tampa Bay? They didn't really score. They scored 2 garbage goals. It was 4-1, yes. And they scored at the end of the third period. Those goals don't count to me.
No, they don't.
Essentially, it was a 4-1, or 4-2. 4-2. Even the goal Chara scored in the third period, you knew it was gone.
Yes.
After the second period of that game, you knew it was over. The third period, you knew there was no hope, and it didn't even matter when Chara scored. So then Tampa came right back anyways and scored. So it was bad. But in this last game against Anaheim, when Anaheim took the lead, Maroon basically made Bartkowski fall on his face and then just put it, Rask was left out to dry, and they took the 1-0 lead. Right away, the Bruins came back. They got the puck in the zone, one of the only times, in that game where they were able to control the puck, and then Spooner comes right away with a little spinorama score and ties the game up. And I think that was great. They came right back at him. So that's a great sign when you see that. Then it held 1-1 for a long time until the Bruins scored and put it up 2-1. And then obviously and that was to begin the third period, which makes you think, okay, that's great. And then at the end of the third period, just unfortunate things happened, and then whatever, overtime. There was good things. They killed that. Rask looked great on the shorthand on the penalty kill before the goal happened, Getzlaf's game-winning goal in overtime. He looked fantastic. He stopped like 4 shots. It was awesome. So I saw many positive things in this game, and the other thing that was good was the fact that this is my bigger word. Dougie Hamilton being out, I don't know when he's coming back. It's a shoulder injury, and that's all I've heard. But if Hamilton is out, the one thing Hamilton does better is he keeps the puck in the zone. They seem to have a problem keeping the puck in the zone without him out there. I don't know why, but if it's his big body or if he's just a better puck handler than many of these other defensemen, but he keeps the puck in the zone, and they are able to keep cycling it. Many times it slides by someone because they don't have as long of a reach. I know Dougie Hamilton's 6'5", Chara's big, but Hamilton's young. Hamilton keeps the puck in the zone. He hasn't been there. That has been a problem. And they haven't kept the puck in the zone as much since Hamilton got hurt in that Florida game. So that's a negative. But, maybe he'll come back. I have no clue. No one said anything about that. Krejci's back. They played still solid against Anaheim has to be one of the top 2 teams in the league right now. I'm going to say that they still have a great chance. They got 8 games to go. Rangers are up next. I know they're the best road team in the NHL, but if they can beat them Saturday, whatever. Here we go. It's game in hand for Ottawa. It's tied in points. The Hamburglar or whatever they call Hammonds is
on fire. He's carrying that team, man. And I look a lot back to the guys you mentioned, in Spooner and Pasternak. The guys that are not stepping up are the guys that need to step up. Brad Marchand has 1 assist in the last 10 games. He's absolutely disappeared. Okay? He's fallen off the face of the map. Not only that, the Bruins are not playing like the Bruins should play. And we know what that is. That's the tough. That's the grittiness. I haven't seen it. Okay? Well, I have not seen it in the last, obviously, six games. They looked a little better last night. But I just feel like guys aren't playing like the way they should play. And they're not playing up to their expectations. You cannot have a guy like Brad Marchand have 1 assist, 1 point in the last 10 games and expect to win a lot of games. This team is constituted around him, Lucic, putting the puck in the net. The young guys are up. The young guys are going to do stuff. But, I mean, yeah, these guys have to do it. They're in severe slumps where you cannot be having a slump right now in this type of season, especially with 8 games left, man. I'm sorry. You cannot deny that.
Look, the thing right now, Marchand's slumping, that's fine, but he seems to be...
Oh, it's not fine.
He'll slump a little, he'll come right back, he'll come back. He's been down a little, just like the team. You say they're streaky, Marchand's streaky. He's also the one that saved them that Philly game about 3 weeks ago when it looked like they were going to lose, and he scored with, 13 seconds to go?
Well, yeah, and Lucic has 1 assist in the 6-game losing streak, too. It's pretty simple.
But Lucic is not the best scorer in the world. Now, the
he makes $6 million a year. What the hell is the point of having Lucic then if he's not going to put the puck in the net?
No, the point of having Lucic, the problem I would have with Lucic right now is the fact that he still needs to hit someone harder.
Exactly.
Offensively, I have no problem with.
Thank you. They are not playing like the Bruins.
He's not hitting anybody.
No, he's not.
He hit someone in the Anaheim game after they hit him. He basically checked him back and was like, "Eat it." But I want him to hit people when they're fighting for pucks. I want him to go into the boards at the other end of the ice and smash somebody to get the puck and use his big body.
That's why.
And be bigger than people, because he is bigger than people and stronger and tougher, and it's for some reason
he's not doing it.
He's not, and I don't know.
It's killing me. It's killing me. It's killing you too, probably. Like, why aren't you doing it? You're huge. Why aren't you doing your strengths? And that's what's aggravating with this team this year. It really is. Well, they're not doing what they normally do to their strengths.
Well, his strength. So once again, to me, his offense isn't something that's going to upset me. What would upset me is his lack of physicality in many of these games. I know he's been playing with Spooner and Pasternak, and maybe playing with the young guys that aren't that big and that can't hit people as hard. Maybe that's making him softer. I have no clue. But all I know is that he needs to go and ramrod somebody and get himself thrown in the box or do something just to spark people, because if we need Brad Marchand, the little ball of hate, to jump on people like Steven Stamkos and get made an ass out of himself in the Tampa game.
That's ridiculous.
Marchand will do it. But he's not the one that should have to. I mean, Lucic is too Marchand.
Oh, Lucic.
Marchand can't be going after everybody. And Stamkos is not that big, but still, that was ridiculous.
That was ridiculous. You got Lucic out there now. Yes, he's not going to be the bona fide scorer, but they're the 2 main reasons, in my opinion. 2 of them. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but they're 2 of the main reasons. I feel like in the last 6-game losing streak, That's why they're losing. These guys, the way the team's constituted, they need to put the puck in the net. And fact of the matter is, whether or not you believe Lucic is built to do that or not, he's making a lot of money, man. He's in his 7th year in the NHL, 6th or 7th year, if I'm not mistaken. And you got to do a little bit more than what you're doing. And Marchand, the up and down, it pretty much wraps up my thoughts on the Bruins this year. It's been up and down, and it's simple. These guys have to step up in the last 8 games, or else they're not going to get in. If they continue to have this negative points per night being on the ice when the other team scores, plus or minus negative, and then not contributing whatsoever, where's the points going to come from then?
Well, look, Spooner's had 12 points in the last 14 games, but the issue... Marchand, first off, I want to take it easy on Marchand because he's looked good with the puck. Nothing's been wrong. He's getting shots on goal. He's just not putting it through the pipes. As far as I'm concerned, Marchand is not an issue, not even close to an issue. Lucic.
Then what's the issue to you? What's the issue?
Lucic is an issue. He's not the whole issue. Dougie Hamilton being out, that struck him for that Tampa game, because I'm telling you, they couldn't keep the puck in the zone, and for some reason, keeping the puck in the zone works much better when Dougie Hamilton's in there. He runs it much better from the point. The puck.
No, but I want to know from you, what's the issue then? Why are they struggling? Name players. Make players accountable. Who are they, in your opinion?
Well, right now they got Trotman in there who's got to try to fill in for a guy who's leading the team for Hamilton, who's leading the team in assists to try to lead, at the point for the Bruins on defense. That's not helping at all. Also, there's been too many times where there's just been easy pucks for the opposing team to just slap off on the rebound or whatnot on Tuukka Rask, and that's not good either.
Yeah, Riley Smith has sucked too. Oh yeah, let's go extend Riley Smith. You extend him, and then he's been absolute dog poo since then.
He has. But they have outshot. They have in every game, I believe, except for the Ottawa game. Every game besides the Ottawa game, and that might even be wrong. But no. Every game, but I don't even know. One of these last 6 games, they did not outshoot the opposing team. So as far as I'm concerned, if you're outshooting the other team, you're doing fine. You're getting in the zone. Offense is not the problem. Defense has been the problem.
Oh, that's ridiculous. What do you mean if they outshoot the other team? That's good. You could shoot them from the half. So they get 40 shots from the blue line. That means that they're doing a better job than the other team?
Yeah, well, like I said, in those games against Buffalo, if they keep the puck in the zone, they keep moving it around, cycling it around, and putting shots on goal, eventually they'll go in. And, I mean, against Ottawa it happened, but then they've had problems since Dougie Hamilton got hurt. Dougie Hamilton went down. I'm telling you, Dougie Hamilton is that good on offense. For all the boneheaded plays he makes when he's on defense and he turns that puck over in front of the net, he makes some great plays offensively. He can move the puck. He cycles the puck. He leads that offense. He's the guy that you want being in charge in the back at the blue line and making the plays on offense when you get in the zone. He is the leader. That's why he's in on the power play all the time. Dougie Hamilton is a huge key on offense, and people don't realize it. If you want to wonder why the offense isn't going to play as well, it's because of Hamilton. You can argue there's been issues beforehand, but the issue now is that they're not keeping the puck in the zone long enough. The only line that could do it was the Marchand, Krejci, Bergeron, which is obviously the most talented line the Bruins have. They do not have offensive talent like most teams, so you can't get that out of most lines unless you have a great blue liner like Dougie Hamilton. Krug's too small. He can't do all those things. Hamilton's the man. You need Hamilton out there. I don't know how you replace that, but they got to figure something out because even in this Anaheim game, they were not able to keep the puck in the zone for long enough periods of time like they had been in these previous games when they have lost as well.
Oh, you're still on this Bruins bandwagon. All right, well, that's fine. That's fine. I still can't understand how you stay this positive with what you see out there, but that's fine. We have our opinions, and that's what makes the world great.
Like I said, the Tampa game made me go down. The Anaheim game made me go up. The way it ended was sad, but there was a lot of good things in that game. The Tampa game was depressing.
All right. Well, talking about a team a game that is a little bit more depressing too. And in my opinion, even more depressing than the Anaheim game was our Boston Celtics taking on the Miami Heat without Hassan Whitehead or Dwayne Wade this week.
And the Birdman. Don't forget the Birdman.
And the Birdman, too. And they dropped that game. It's one of those games where it made me scratch my head. Even though I don't have any hair, I still scratched it. And they somehow lost, and they didn't even lose. They didn't show up for the first 3 quarters. They go into the fourth quarter down by like 20 points. Miraculously, by the end, they actually cut it to like 6, and they end up losing to a team that's ahead of them in the rankings, and now they're pretty close to being on the edge of the playoffs right now. They might still have that 8th seed.
They do.
As of right now, but who knows? They're only a half a game in front of Indiana and Brooklyn, and those 3 teams are going to be neck and neck going down the stretch here. But that Miami loss was a little discouraging. You have Isaiah Thomas coming back from injury. He did not look good, in my opinion.
Well, he admitted he was horrible. He said he couldn't sleep. He said it might have been the worst game of his career.
Yeah, it was not pretty. Did they rush him back too early? I remember being in high school in our stupid auditorium that we had. They had metal bars between seats, and I went down to sit in a seat, and I thought it was a seat, and I sat right into a metal bar. And let me tell you something. That did not feel good on my tailbone. And my tailbone, it took a long time for that to recover. I had like excruciating pain at random times. So Isaiah, once you should be listening to this show, and if you are, don't worry, man. I feel your pain. I'm sure you're getting a lot more treatment that's better than mine because you're an NBA player, but it's going to take some time, and I'm not going to pinpoint any of the blame on him for this loss. It was a collective effort. The Celtics played like trash. Marcus Smart was awful, and he's been playing great. Evan Turner, who I'm not a fan of, and I never will be, but somehow has been playing good. I'll give it to him. He did not play well in that game. You didn't have that pop off the bench coming from any of the players. It was just a game that, from a outside perspective, or even someone who looks at a game and they're going to win. I'd say like 95% of the people would say that, because you got Dwayne Wade down, you got Whitehead, you got like you said, Birdman out, and for some reason the Celtics just went into that game and they just looked atrocious.
Well, they were favored in that game.
Of course they were, yeah.
First off, but the thing is, doesn't it seem to you that many times in the NBA, when a team doesn't have a lot of their best guys out there, suddenly for just one game, they win the game.
Yeah, because the NBA is fixed. So that's all I got to say about that. But
listen, Miami, okay, yes, you're right. The first three quarters were absolutely horrendous. They were horrible. I don't know what they were doing. They did not do anything right. And then in the fourth quarter, probably not even the whole fourth quarter, maybe the final 6-7 minutes of the game, they decided they were going to turn on the burners and try to play. Now, mind you, Isaiah Thomas also fell on his back again during that game, and he didn't look good.
He plays like a loony out there. That's the one thing about him. He reminds me, he's like the equivalent of Julian Edelman. He plays every play. It's like the last play, and sometimes that comes back to backfire.
Well, he's Edelman mixed with Pedroia mixed with Marchand, because
and look at that, all little guys that if they go down, their bodies are like mine. I feel like. I mean, I guess not, because I'm fat and out of shape right now, but the fact of the matter is these guys are small dudes that don't have the muscle structure to take on the hits that they take throughout the game, or the dives that they take, like Pedroia that dives like a lunatic all game, and that's what's going to happen. I'm worried that with that loss, but the Detroit loss too was a little worrisome, because Detroit is not good, and that game went to overtime, and oh man, that was a loss. That was another game that I thought they would win, and maybe I'm put my expectations a little too high for this team. But I feel like if you're going to make the playoffs, or if you're a team that is ahead of other teams, you should be beating them at home.
Well, let's fast forward to the last time that we actually had a show, and that was before Oklahoma City. The Celtics played in Oklahoma City. They ended up losing that game. We thought that there was a chance they could win it, but they probably would lose it. San Antonio, we thought they definitely would lose. Then Detroit, they'd win. And then obviously Brooklyn after that, Miami. The San Antonio game, they lost at Oklahoma City, but then at San Antonio, it's 101-89, not really that close. But Marcus Smart goes and does his uppercut on Matt Bonner, our boy from New Hampshire. And you know, I don't know if you heard the radio broadcast. Anyone heard the radio broadcast? Cedric Maxwell does his like, woo! And one of those, and just freaks out. Smart gets ejected for a game. Not ejected, suspended for a game. And he says it was a freak accident. Basically, everybody knows it was blatant. He just went right at him. Even Maxwell sitting there he's the biggest homer. Tommy Heinsohn's bigger. I wish I could have heard what Tommy Heinsohn had to say, but everyone knew Smart knocked the guy where the sun don't shine just because. And he gets knocked out. Stevens calls him out. Everybody calls him out. And then Evan Turner says, Marcus, you owe us one after that, because the following game, Smart's not in. They lose to Detroit in overtime. So they're sensing that as a problem. But they bounce back, and actually, I think out of all the games they needed to win, they won the one game they needed to win the most. And that was at Brooklyn. Because Brooklyn came in having won 2 games in a row against teams that were in this playoff mix, and then happened to beat Charlotte after they lost to the Celtics. But the Celtics went into Brooklyn and dominated them. It was not close.
No,
it was 110.
It was great.
110-91.
Yep.
It should have been even bigger of a margin. They dominated them. And after the game, Lionel Hollins, the coach of Brooklyn, basically came out and said, he's like, we don't match up well with them. I'm not surprised at all. That's what he said. And this is supposedly the most angry guy in all of coaching in the NBA. So he didn't even seem pissed about the loss.
No, we've discussed Lionel Hollins before. That's him. He's just a weird dude, man.
Yeah, I don't know what he was doing. But anyway, so the Celtics won the one game I feel like they really had to win, and that's why they're still sitting there in 8th place. Now, I don't expect much from the Celtics anyway, so it's not like I'm, sitting on pins and needles hoping they can win all these games coming up, but they do have the Knicks on Friday night at Knicks. I mean, that can sometimes help out, be the remedy, the chicken soup for many teams, because the Knicks, I don't even know if I can name Jose Calderon. I don't know who else plays on that team.
Ricky Ledoux, baby, my PC buddy. He's getting some run now with the Knicks.
Ledoux?
Yeah.
Did he even play for PC at any point, or wasn't he hurt the whole time?
He was not hurt. He had issues grade-wise, a partial qualifier, so he never actually played, and then he declared for the draft, got drafted second round by Dallas. And if anyone's a PC fan listening, he barely played in Dallas. I mean, we're not going to go into debate whether or not he made a mistake or not, but the fact of the matter is, you're right. They're going to be facing the Celtics. Going to be facing the Knicks, who are just an atrocious basketball team right now. They've lost 5 in a row. LA Clippers beat them by like 30 plus the other night, and that could have easily been like a 50-point game. And I'm not even kidding. This Knicks team is throwing out one of the worst lineups I have seen in the NBA in a long time. It just shows you that this product that is out there in the NBA is awful, because there's too many teams, there's not enough good players. You got to start a lineup of like Bargnani, some dude named Langston Galloway. I remember
Munson.
Yeah,
A Munson.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, that guy who used to be on the Celtics, and Lance Thomas, and I think they have Clee Anthony Early they drafted, and Ledoux hooking up shots.
He's hurt. Yeah, Early's hurt.
No, Early's back. He was on the court the other night. Oh yeah, he was on the court. And this team, they're atrocious. I'm gonna tell you something right now. I will be disappointed. There's only one game left, possibly, on the Celtics schedule that if they lose, I'll be disappointed. I don't care where this game's played. I don't care if it's in New York, Boston. They cannot lose to the Knicks, okay, in their next game, period. It's a must-win. This Knicks team is god-awful, and if they lose this game, I'm going to be a little worried.
Yeah, well, I'd be worried if they lose the Knicks.
It's not that I'm going to be worried, because I'm like you. I have no expectations for this team. We both jumped on the Celtics bandwagon a while ago, saying how, yeah, why not have them go to the playoffs? Let's do it. Of course, let's do it. Why not? We don't have lottery luck. Hell with it. Let's go to the playoffs. But out of all the games left for the Celtics, if they lose to this Knicks team that's won like 2 games in the last 20 games, played, I would not be happy.
Well, yeah, I guess you're right. I wouldn't be disappointed. The other thing is, who knows, they could lose and then just bounce back. They're such a weird team, the Celtics, that is. But the Knicks, I actually think the Knicks probably have a memo from Phil Jackson or James Dolan basically saying, do not win right now. Do not win, do not win, do not win, do not win. So I don't even think they want to win this game.
Yeah, but is Jackson that dumb enough to realize that what is he going to do? You go out, you get Okafor with the number 1 pick. I mean, that is a possibility. It's only a 25% because of the stupid NBA lottery system, which is the worst possible thing out there for any freaking major sport when it comes to the draft. That is ridiculous. But that's another story for another day. But
the Knicks got Ewing with that before, so they have a good history of getting lucky with these things.
That's what it is, Draws. It's luck. So if he's banking on luck, it doesn't matter anyway. Carmelo comes back next year, and you put Okafor on there. Ooh, it's like you do not win with young talent in the NBA. They're going to have to somehow attract a free agent there. And even that, I mean, who knows, man? Jackson's failing right now. He's failing. I like seeing this because Phil Jackson has always been a guy that's been surrounded by talent, and I think that personally this is it's a courageous move for him to do. And I don't know if courageous is the right word with that. Let's not go courageous.
A lot of money.
But exactly, that's what I was going to go back to, because it's not like he's getting paid peanuts to do this. So he's getting paid a lot of money. It's a ballsy move for him to come out of retirement, out of living in a shack or whatever he is in Montana, and taking on a disaster like the Knicks, because he's had teams with talent on it before, and now he's taking a management role on, and he's trying to turn a storied franchise around and is not doing a good job with it. And he's come out and said he's not doing a good job. It's not that hard to see. Does this team have any direction going forward?
Probably not, but I mean, he has said that he knows the teams need to be built through free agency, not through the draft. So
he's not in it. You gotta have guys that have been around the NBA NBA to win. But the Celtics have the Knicks, all right, and after the Knicks, if I'm not mistaken, they're going to be coming back home facing the Clippers. So tough one to come back to after that. Doc Rivers' team is playing pretty well right now. And then they got to go on the road at Charlotte, and they come back home for a couple, which I think include Indiana. So they're going back and forth here. They got 3 games starting on Friday, and then back-to-back home on Sunday against Clippers, and then traveling to Charlotte on Monday. So 3 games in 4 days here is going to be a pretty interesting trip coming up. So coming back and forth between home and away. I like to see them go 2-1. Realistically, that Charlotte game, any game on the road, no matter what sport you're playing in, is going to be difficult. So with that being said, I wouldn't lose my mind if they go 1-2, but you go 0-3 here. Little time.
Yeah, I mean, but they're young enough, these guys, to be able to, their legs, at least to handle back-to-backs, even back-to-backs that go from home to Charlotte. I mean, that part of it I'm not too worried about. It's just the fact that they're inconsistent. We don't know what they're going to do. I mean, Smart can come out one game and score 20 in the next game, not be able to hit a shot that wide open, 4-footer or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like we said last show, that Wednesday game, where we had our last show on Wednesday and they face Oklahoma City, they lose against San Antonio. Okay, it's that Detroit game, it just sticks out, or the Miami game. I feel like they had to, they didn't have to, but it would have been better if they would have won one of those games. If you look back at the last 10 games, because they got the 5-game winning streak going into OKC and San Antonio, you don't expect them to win, and then they're favored at home against Detroit, favored against Miami. They dropped those games. So, and they're still right there. They still have that spot by a half a game. But
and let's not forget that Detroit game, they did not have Marcus Smart. And as much as you can say Smart's not a scorer, he is one of the best rookies I've ever seen at playing defense. He's
phenomenal,
scrappy.
yeah.
Oh. He hustles. He's a hustler. So not having him on the floor is a big deal. And they lost. And I think that's why Evan Turner called him out and said, "You owe us one, Marcus. You owe us one."
Yeah,
because he didn't play because he had to, do a stupid uppercut. Someone called it the Don Flamingo from Mike Tyson's Punch Out uppercut into Matt Bonner's, lower region. And
his lower region. What lower region was that, Draws? Was that his ankle?
Yeah. He just, I don't know how smart. It's almost funny. It's not funny for Bonner, obviously. Bonner was very angry.
Well, anytime you get hit in the region that is there for other purposes, it doesn't feel good. No matter if you're a girl getting hit in that region or as a girl, or a guy getting hit in that region as a guy, it doesn't feel good. It was blatant. I don't know how Marcus Smart said it was a mistake. It's total BS. He did it. I mean, I'm going to go back to your fact, though, talking about Smart and his defense, because I love that. And in the NBA, that is what so many players don't do. They cannot defend. All right, so for a rookie to be as good as he can, the offense is going to come next. You and me both love this pick. I still like the young pick. I just think, no pun intended, he's still too young to be playing. No chance in hell I'm giving up on that pick. I like it, but I love the Marcus Smart pick. It's good. He's definitely going to be a tool for a piece to this puzzle here. One of the tools for the future. Him and Young, I feel like the only ones that have no whatsoever when it comes to trading. There's no way they're going to be able to. No way they would get rid of either of those guys. You could put an argument that any other player in the Celtics could be off this roster, and that includes Isaiah Thomas or Jared Sullinger. Even Sullinger admitted now his weight issue. He was really close to 300 pounds, and it's not surprising that he had a foot injury. God forbid. Where does all the weight go when you have excess weight? It goes to your feet. So that's not surprising. But Celtics here, I think I'm going to say they're going to go 2-1. I think they're going to go 2-1 in the next stretch of games. And if you want to even add Indiana into that mix, I'm going to say they go 3-1 in the next stretch. What about you, Draws? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they win those games. I think that they will take out Charlotte. I think they take out the Knicks. And then I think Indiana I think they'll take out Indiana. They'll lose to the Clippers just because the Clippers are the better team. Or you can flip flop. Maybe they'll beat the Clippers and lose to Charlotte, but they'll find a way. They'll find a way to get a win in there and go 3-1. I just think they will. They have a lot of heart. I mean, even in the Miami game, which it's inexcusable how they came out for that game for the first 3.5 quarters, but they did try their butts off at the end to come back. And that, for whatever reason, that shows that they still have heart. They still want these games. They want to win. And I think that'll help them in these games. I think that their youth will help them, and I think they'll get through it. I think they got enough guys. They have a lot of different guys that can make shots when they need to make shots. And that's what you need in these games. I mean, they're tough. When you see Luigi Datome, making slam dunks to put the team up or whatnot, I mean, it's ridiculous with the Celtics. So I think they go 3-1. Now, a team that could go 3-1 to start the season, and really it would make no difference at all, is the Boston Red Sox, because they play 162 games. But their leader, and one guy, as you were saying before, Isaiah Thomas, everybody on the Celtics, they're all up for grabs. They all could be traded. One guy on the Red Sox that definitely probably will never be traded is David Ortiz, Big Papi. And Ortiz had some interesting things to say just recently on the Players Tribune website. That's the website that Derek Jeter started for the players to start and kind of voice their opinions. So Ortiz wrote this, I guess you call it a column, called The Dirt. And in there, he goes after the people that say that he's basically on steroids. And he makes fun of Dan Shaughnessy at one point, which was pretty ridiculous. He calls him the red Jerry curl guy. But one quote from here, he goes, "Say whatever you want about me. Love me, hate me. But I'm no expletive. I never knowingly took any steroids. If I tested positive for anything, it was for something in pills I bought at the damn mall. If you think that ruins everything I've done in the game, there's nothing I can say to convince you different." So he goes on. He talks about being in the Dominican and people showing up to his house at 7:30 in the morning with syringes, and his kids being there, and him having to come down, and them taking his blood, and him passing tests, and all this other kind of stuff. So, but Big Papi is very mad, very, very mad. And you look at him. He had his slumps. Obviously, had wrist problems. He at one point looked like he couldn't hit an 85 mile per hour fastball. Then he snaps back and hits 700 in a World Series for the Red Sox. So honestly, I mean, people having doubts about a guy like Ortiz, especially in this era, I can see how they would. And I can also see if Ortiz isn't guilty, why he would come out and write something like this.
Yeah, I mean, back to the whole point, the whole purpose of this ridiculous thing was, if our listeners need some type of remembrance with this, there was a report that came out that got leaked by the New York Times, and the New York Times magically got a report that was never supposed to be out there. They got the names of it, okay, and because that got leaked out, Ortiz's name was linked to it. Ortiz tries to get into it, and now they're saying, oh, no, we can't talk about it because of the legal issue. So that just aggravates the hell out of me when it comes to that, and people in leaks when it comes to the media, because something's not supposed to come out. It comes out because somehow someone got it. His name emerged, but because of the legalities, now it still can't be opened up, but we had a leak. So Ortiz's name comes up on there. We'll never know. Or hopefully we do know. I can't say never, but by the legalities of this situation, the tests were never supposed to be public. What he actually tested positive for, who knows? He says this accusation about going to the ball and stuff, and with that stuff, I mean, like I teach a lot of my students in school, I don't even know half the stuff that's in those things, even at the mall, man. So I don't like Ortiz coming out and doing all this. The main reason is, a lot of times when people keep talking about something, it makes them feel like they're trying to cover something up. And I don't know. He's in this.
Like Gary Sheffield or something.
Yeah, exactly. He's in the steroid era, and if he wants to keep defending himself, because now is going to be like the start of like the Papi campaign for the Hall of Fame, I don't even care. You want to know why? Because his numbers aren't good enough to get into the Hall of Fame. All right.
Well,
that's another. We could argue that too, but I hold a huge value in guys that play not only the field but also hit. He only does one of those things, so his numbers really need to be above and beyond. And if you're going to be playing in an era where you're going to get judged by being in the steroid era, you're going to have to put up massive stats. And Ortiz still, in my opinion, needs to put up more stats to be considered Hall of Fame worthy. I understand he is the heart and soul of this Red Sox team, the run they've been on, where they've won 3 championships here, and he definitely is the reason for at least 2 out of the 3 of them. Okay, yep. I understand that. All right, but with that being said, when you're someone who keeps on bringing up this news, it worries me that he's trying to make like a ploy to something that happened, and sometimes I feel like if you keep talking about it, did you really do something? Are you really trying to cover up something here, David? I don't know, Droz. It's just I'm still I don't know where I stand with this, to be honest, and it's terrible because I hate sitting on the fence and having an opinion. If you had to point my head and say that David Ortiz did steroids or not, I'd probably say yes, because he was surrounded by this stuff, you know?
Yeah, and the thing is, well, my stance on steroids in general is, I think most people, I think at one point they did some kind of poll and they thought like 80% of the baseball players are taking some kind of, performance enhancing drug. And to me, if he did take them or is taking them or whatever, it's not that big a deal because I think everybody else is doing it. It's the same thing. I do this with everything. I did with the Patriots when it comes to videotaping people. I do it with I don't do it with flopping. I do not like flopping in soccer or in hockey. But there's many issues.
Add the NBA to that list.
Yeah, NBA, exactly. I do not like flopping. But beyond that, like all this stuff, if everyone else is doing it, then I can't consider it cheating because everyone else is doing it. So if everyone's cheating, then it's the same ball field. It's like Jerry Rice said when he was talking about putting stickum on his gloves. I mean, everyone else is doing it, fine. I actually believe him on that, although I don't like how he called the Patriots cheaters when he supposedly cheated himself. Or did cheat himself. He admitted to it. So I don't have a problem with the steroids. I think he's going nuts because he wants to get into the Hall of Fame, and he'd be upset if he didn't. But Ortiz, yes, it's hard because, especially if you go back to the 2004 World Series when the Red Sox hadn't won in 86 years, and Ortiz in that series against the Yankees saved their butts in back-to-back games in Game 4 and in Game 5 with game-winning hits in extra innings. It's hard to not love Ortiz as a Boston Red Sox fan. But the other thing is, I mean, there's been points in time where he's struggled and suddenly, like I said, he couldn't hit an 85-mile-per-hour fastball, and I know his wrist was all messed up. But the fact is, you can't go from not being able to hit an 85-mile-per-hour fastball to hitting a 94-mile-per-hour fastball and smacking it, foul, way foul, pulling it foul. Like, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen that easily. Not at his age. He's aging, and I do not see how it happens. If you put a gun to my head, I'd say the same thing as you, Mattias. I think Dan Shaughnessy has every right to ask Ortiz those questions. Every right to ask Ortiz those questions. The man that Ortiz calls in the column the reporter with the red jerry curl, Dan Shaughnessy. But I think he was right to ask him. You fit the description of the kind of guy that would be doing it. I mean, he's huge. His numbers had gone back up. He's started his career. He didn't do much when he was with the Twins. He was a platoon player. He comes to the Red Sox for nothing, and suddenly he's Superman.
Yeah, I know. This David Ortiz would not last a second on the Patriots. He's the most outspoken player out of any Boston sports player right now in this market, and if he has an opinion, he's going to state it. And that's the one thing that really aggravates me about this guy, because and it goes back to how much you just appreciate Tom Brady. And you can say whatever you want. Say Brady is doing this just because he's putting on a show. No, I actually think Brady is genuine when it comes out to stuff. When he says stuff because he means it. And whether it's negative or positive or congratulating other teams or saying stuff. Ortiz is like the opposite. I mean, he comes out and he's just like, bleep this, bleep that, blah, rah, rah. You better respect me. I'm Big Papi, blah, blah, blah. You better love me. Yeah, you don't see that coming from – you'll never see that coming from Brady. You'll never be like, oh, I'm Tom Brady. How do you disrespect me like this? I mean, since we've won the Super Bowl, Brady said what he had to on the stupid freaking Deflategate, which we're going to save for another day because just saying the word Deflategate just boiled my blood for a second because that is a catastrophe that's going on with that BS. But anyways, take a deep breath, Mattias, and go back to Ortiz. I'm going to say it again. His numbers are still not good enough, in my opinion, to get to the Hall of Fame. And this is going to be the continuation here now for the next couple of years with Ortiz. Is he starting his campaign here for the Hall? If he is, fine. I mean, you should be caring about that, David, because you haven't played one game in the spring training yet. Spring training years, in a year so far with the spring training games. Because of dehydration, whatever the hell's going on. Are you making all these excuses up kind of like an NFL player when it comes to their spring training? I don't know if that's the case, but he hasn't played yet. I'm not really worried about it, but like you said, Draws, it's an age thing. The guy was productive last year, but his batting, his average came down a little bit, and it's going to be an interesting next couple of years for David Ortiz because he's going to be hitting the 40 mark. Most of the time, guys, when you get older, you start getting worse. But who knows? I mean, we see it with other athletes. You hit that certain age, and boom, they just completely lose it. Is it going to happen to Ortiz? We're going to find out.
We're going to find out. But look, and I just want to finish this with this. I don't care if he took steroids or not, and I'd still put him if his numbers add up. And you're right.
See,
right now,
I don't. Why are you saying that? You don't care if he takes steroids or not? They were illegal in sports, so you're saying that no matter anytime something's illegal in sports, and if everybody else or if a majority of players are doing it, that means that it's okay.
Yes.
That's asinine, Draws. What are you smoking this week?
What do you mean that's asinine? I'm saying that basically everybody else is doing it, and because then it becomes arbitrary who you're going to call out and who you're not, and I cannot stand that. It's like in the NCAA when they're like, okay, Syracuse, we're going to go after you because we decide you're the ones that we want to target and we want to go after your program. If you went into all those Division I NCAA huge schools and investigated, I guarantee you'd find dirt on every single one of them. It just depends. Throw a coin, and you'll hit one.
Of course we would. We're not talking about the NCAA. That's another argument for another day because I could actually say that they're more corrupt than any major sport league. The NCAA is atrocious. They are. But fact of the matter is, I just don't know how you can say that comment. It's kind of – so are you saying if you're not cheating, you're not trying?
No, I'm not saying if you're not cheating, you're not trying. I'm saying that if everybody's cheating, then you can't just pick out one guy and say, hey, you, David Ortiz, or, I don't want to put anybody's name out there, whatever team, Alex Rodriguez, because you have taken steroids and done all this, even though the 80% of the league is doing it, we decided you're the biggest name. We want to make an example out of you. We're going to put you in the spotlight. And everyone else is okay. I don't think that's right.
Okay, so fine. So should anybody be in the Hall of Fame then? Should Bonds be in the Hall of Fame?
They all should be in the Hall of Fame because everybody's done it. And at all times people have done it. The thing that pisses me off even more is the fact that if you go back to the 50s, the Germans were using blood doping in the Olympics. Steroids and steroids have go back to like the 60s. So it's not like this is something new. It's just that we have much more media coverage now. You hear from all these guys like Mike Schmidt. I've heard him say a couple times. He's a Hall of Fame third baseman for the Philadelphia Phillies. He comes out and he says that if steroids were around when he played, he would have taken them. Well, guess what? And I know Schmidt actually looks very skinny, so I'm not going to say that he – I don't know, though. I'm going off look. But he said he would take them. You know what? They were around in the damn 80s.
Of course they were around.
Hear about it. So the fact is they could have been taking these all the time, and then they were just taking cocaine or speed or whatever to go. I'm not going to go flipping out on one guy and not flip out on another guy just because his numbers are better or because he plays in Boston and that's a bigger market and we care more about him and he's more outspoken. We don't like him, but we like, someone else. And so we're not going to talk about him and he gets into the Hall of Fame. Whatever your reasoning being why you would go after one guy and not after the other guy, that is unfair.
Yeah, but it's the integrity of the game, Draws. I don't.
Well, then get everybody off it, but they can't.
Fine, I agree. I can't decide what to do with the situation, and you know what? They can pay me a boatload of money, and I can come up with a great hypothesis for that situation, but I don't, and unfortunately I don't have enough time. I don't know what the answer is for it. I can tell you this statement is 100% true, and I'll debate anyone with this statement. Baseball knew about steroids, but baseball saved steroids. Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, that competition going back and forth pretty much saved baseball. All right? They turned their back on it. I don't care what anyone says. And then they come out and all this crap comes out that, they were doing this and they were doing that and they were shunning it. Now they're shunning those people, certain individuals going into Hall of Fame. Baseball knew about it. I don't care what anybody said. Bud Selig knew about it. All right? And they saved baseball. They really did. All right? Baseball ratings are terrible, and they're going to continue to be terrible. We're in a fast-paced society, so like we mentioned before in previous shows, it's great to go see a ball game. It really is. The atmosphere, being out there, the fresh air, the smell of the game, the feel, everything, it's great. All right? But the fact of the matter is it's a 162-game season. In our fast-paced society, people don't – it's too long. They need to make changes. All right? And whether or not Ortiz was on steroids or not, I'm going to say it again. He's not a Hall of Famer.
Well, okay, and that's fine if he's not a Hall of Famer. And actually, I agree with the number part. And if that's his problem, or if that's his qualm, then that's great. But his numbers obviously can get better if he keeps playing. If he doesn't get hurt, he is getting old. Who knows how much longer he can last. But my qualm is the fact that people call out people for steroids in general. I honestly, it's illegal in baseball. Eventually, they're going to make some drug. This is what's going to happen, Mattias. The way it works in the scientific world, they will have some kind of drug that will be perfectly safe, will make you get bigger and stronger, and will have no side effects. And that drug will get taken by all these players maybe 20 years from now. And when they take that drug, they're going to be putting up inflated numbers, but it's not going to be illegal because everybody's going to be able to take it because it's completely safe. And then what are you going to say?
Who knows? That's an argument for another day, but that's our society draws. That's how drugs work. Drugs, they try to find the stuff that's legal, and then they try to stay one step ahead. That's how it always is, no matter what it is. I mean, you could look at this example, not a drug situation, but look at the Patriots. They dive down into that playbook, and now because of a play they used against the Ravens, and the Ravens cry like little sissies, now they eliminate it. No matter what sport you play, when you try to get to the tip of the top, whether it's the NBA, NFL, no matter what it is, you are going to try to find anything, no matter how deep in the playbook, no matter how legal it comes or illegal it comes to those products that they take, to stay one step ahead. All right? And it's going to continue to be like that no matter what sport it is. And it makes it extremely hard, and there's no right or wrong answer with this being said of the stupid BBWA people, because there are a lot of lunatics on that committee. There are, man. Nobody ever has gotten voted into the Hall of Fame 100%. That is ridiculous. I feel like they pluck these guys off of Mars, and they come up with these stupid hypotheses that I'm not going to vote for Derek Jeter. It's like, that's ridiculous. It's another story for another day. I think you were just about ready to say, but when it comes to sports, it's going to continue to be, let's try to stay that one step ahead, and you're right. And then they're going to eliminate that. They'll ban that product. They will. Whatever product you think is going to be perfectly safe, they'll ban it.
Okay, they'll ban it, and guess what? Then they'll come up with another product. Okay, you're right. They'll keep coming up with products. They'll keep banning them. They'll keep doing whatever. I don't know. Maybe they won't be able to ban it at some point if it's perfectly fine, unless they want to say, or you're right, maybe they will, because they'll say the integrity of the game. Well, back then they didn't have this product. But who the hell knows what was going on back in the day? That's my other point, because media, the coverage that nowadays we have 24/7. You put on something, everything is live. SportsCenter is pretty much live throughout the night. I mean, until 2 a.m. So 2 a.m. then till 9 a.m. it's not live. But if something were to happen, they'd probably fly on TV anyways. And I'm sure there's other internet sites or whatnot where you can get information.
Like 2 to 6 a.m., man. SportsCenter starts at like 5 or 6. So it's sports are Sports never stop, period.
For gosh sakes, I work in the sports industry. I work through the night.
Yeah.
I work midnight till 8 in the morning. You know, I work for ABC. I'm sitting there all night long. We have stuff going out all the time. So the fact is, it's 24/7. People have media coverage whenever they want it. Back in the 80s, they didn't have this stuff. So this media coverage. So that is shining a light on these drug issues or whatnot that could have been around in the freaking 60s because it existed in the 60s. But that's my point. So you got all these guys in the Hall of Fame that you think were so pure, but maybe they weren't. Maybe they weren't. How do you know? In the 70s, the Steelers admitted that their entire defense that won 4 Super Bowls, they were all on steroids. And you know, nothing's happening there. If it was out in the 70s with the Steelers, if it was out in the 50s with the Germans in the Olympics, then of course it could be with the baseball players at all those times too. That's my only point. This is why I feel like it's so arbitrary, and I cannot stand when people arbitrarily go after somebody because of whatever reason it is. This is supposed to be fair, and I don't care if you like a person or dislike a person. This is about everybody being on the same playing field. And if everybody is taking something, even if it's illegal, I am not going to hold it against that person. I'm just not going to.
All right. That's you have your opinion, I have my opinion, and I mean, you're strong. You have a solid opinion when it comes to this subject. I'm more sitting on the fence, I'll be honest. I just think that the whole premise of this goes back to those numbers. And like I said, as of right now, no, you're not in, David. Even though I love you, you're on the Mount Rushmore of Boston sports. It is what it is, man. We're gonna have to wait and see what you can do in the next 3 years, and maybe if you get over the hump with 500 home runs, and maybe I'll reconsider. But yeah, it is what it is when it comes to that stuff, man.
Well, I'll agree with you on that. David Ortiz is definitely on the Mount Rushmore of Boston sports, and he is not in the Hall of Fame right now. But thank you once again, everybody, for listening to another edition of the Boston Sports Brew. We have to go. Once again, like us on our Facebook page. You've been doing a lot of that. We appreciate that. Twitter, at Boston Sports Brew, well, at BOS Sports Brew, at BOS Sports Brew. Also, I'm trying to think what else. Anything else that I have to pump?
I think you hit them all, Draws. You finally got the BOS Sports Brew on Twitter.
All right, good. So that was a couple weeks in a row. So once again, everybody, thank you for listening. This has been another edition of the Boston Sports Brew. For Mattias, I'm Draws. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.